Hello and welcome to another Derby special of the Football Debate Show. Well, in just over 48 hours' time, we'll know whether United or City is heading to Wembley in the League Cup. City taking a 2-1 lead to Old Trafford. And Ian joins me to discuss who will make it that far. And joining us, we've got Andy Mitten, Manchester United fan of some prominence and an eminent journalist, and Steve Price, City fan of this parish. You are both very welcome. Andy, let's start with the weekend's football. United go into the game on Wednesday on the back of a 4-0 win, but a few of the journos suggesting maybe 4-0 a little bit flattering.
It was. You look at when the last 3 goals came, it was all very late on in the game, and Sir Alex Ferguson credited Hull, who battled throughout, did quite well, and actually came very close to equalising in the 75th minute. What was interesting to me as a United fan was that the game was played out against a backdrop of dissent among United fans. Not just a couple of hundred people, but the vast majority of the stadium making their feelings very clear, that they're not happy with the ownership at the club, that they're worried about the debts. Football-wise, 4 goals for Rooney, playing fantastically well. I thought United actually played well against City last week, so I think the players will be confident going into the rather small game on Wednesday night.
Well, we'll come back to Rooney in a moment. Steve, City against Scunthorpe, slightly strange game because they scored some belting goals, but in between there was a bit of fairly ordinary stuff as well.
Yeah, well, first of all, there was no protest. We were all fairly happy on the day. Obviously, we did come through, but we were put to the test once again, as we were last week against United, and have been a lot of the time where, you know, it's been backs to the wall. But we came through, we scored some great goals, and we now can just look to the next round.
So, let's talk about players. We'll come back to Robinho in a moment, but Rooney, not just from a United perspective, from an England perspective at the moment, he has got to be the #1 English talent on the planet, you'd have to think, Andy.
Yeah, and I mean, the view of a lot of United fans about England, it's always club first for the vast majority of the supporters, but England fans will definitely be thinking ahead of the World Cup. He's a world-class player, he can make a difference at the highest level, like people like Messi can and Cristiano Ronaldo can. He's after a new contract, so he's playing even better. I shouldn't say that he wouldn't, his performances would dip otherwise, but he's been the standout player for Manchester United this season. A lot of the players said when Ronaldo went, this will be a good opportunity for Rooney. And I think we're seeing that. He's already scored, I think, as many as he's ever scored in a Premiership season. We're only in January. He's clearly going to be the team's top scorer. And I only wish that I would have bet on him in August, when one bookmaker occasionally comes on this show and on this channel, said put money on him to be the top scorer of the Manchester teams. You get 4-1.
Talking about putting money on things, Steve, Robinho up the road before the window closes.
Well, it looks a certainty, doesn't it? It looks as though, you know, if it's come out from his own mouth, then it looks as if it's going to happen. I think Mancini's said that he does want him to stay, but he said that after Robinho had spoken. Perhaps it's already a done deal. It looks as though he might be going back to South America. He's already said that's going to be a great loss to his wage packet. I'm sure it won't hurt him that much. But yeah, we'll be sad to see him go. That goes without saying. Of course, he's been the most exciting signing we've possibly ever had. But it's not working. It's not working. He's not fitting into the team. He perhaps fit into yesterday's side against Scunthorpe, perhaps more than he has done for a long, long time. He certainly had a smile on his face, but that smile's been missing. He's told us it's been missing. If it isn't fitting, the team performance is what's most important, and yeah, I think it's a fair bet.
One thing I was going to say about it was, I think Robinho seems the type of signing that City needed to make when they made it. They wanted to make a statement by signing Robinho. Do you think he's a player that they don't really need now? He's a luxury that they can't really afford as they carry on fighting for him?
Did we need him then? It's been well, you know, reported as a vanity signing. They came in the morning, and by the afternoon they'd signed Robinho. Statement of intent, a good statement of intent, costly statement of intent, and it hasn't worked out for us. Did we need him then? Do we need him now? Well, on the basis of how we're performing, no. Whether he would fit into our team long term, possibly, probably yes, but it looks like we might not get to see that.
We've got some emails as well, haven't we?
Just interesting, though, we're talking about the marquee players, the players that get the fans excited.
Yeah.
But Fergie, as is his wont this week, said, hang on, while you're all waxing lyrical about Rooney, maybe there's another factor at play here, didn't he?
Yeah, he said he's talking about the defence. He said that it's really, really important to get the players back. Of course, Rio Ferdinand returned at the weekend, and he was most happy with a 4-0 win, of course, but also a clean sheet.
It's been the weakest part of our game this season. Was in Van der Sar and Vidic and Ferdinand, Neville for Piers and John O'Shea. It's been a rough time for us with injuries. Wes Brown and John Evans have all been injured at various times of the season. So to get them all back, and obviously we're hoping that Nemanja Vidic in the next couple of weeks will join that list of players back, and it can only be good for us.
OK, well, that was Sir Alex Ferguson talking about the defence. Just to wrap up the Rubinho point, we've got some emails here. Someone calling themselves Andy X Stockport says he's a good player at a poor club, as will be seen on Wednesday. Only went for the money anyway. Obviously, that would be a United fan. Another point here by Captain Underpants, interesting name. By then, we don't need self-obsessed sulkers like you disrupting our progress forwards. You had plenty of chances to prove your worth, and because you feel that the team should be built around you, and it hasn't, you're off. Good luck to Santos or whoever else is stupid enough to take you on board. I guess that's from a City fan, Jimmy.
That would be my call and all. So, where we're arrived at, Andy, is a point where they both go into Wednesday on the back of a win. So, Fergie said, he almost slipped it under the wire, that Arsenal on Sunday is more important than City on Wednesday. But a lot of United fans won't see it that way. So give me your scenario for the second leg.
We're talking in Manchester. What are people talking about in this city at the moment? It's not the United-Arsenal game.
No, it isn't.
Everyone's talking about the derby. On and off the field, I mean, the atmosphere last week was incredible. I think both City and United fans will say that. The camera panned into the United fans who held the flares up, and I know, strictly speaking, that's illegal. But I also know people at United who say it looked brilliant, and we're not going to deny that. And I think City, you can't deny, they're an emerging force. And I watched the game last week for the first time thinking I'm not that confident that United will win this match. I thought United played very well and were unlucky to lose, and I am confident that United can overturn the result. It is only the League Cup, but it's actually more important is that it's the Manchester derby. That's more important than the competition this time.
Steve, let me ask you, because a lot of City fans of my acquaintance had just a sneaking suspicion that maybe we should have gone for a third goal rather than stick at 2-1, and that it was the Italian in Mancini, let's hold what we have. Would you like to have seen it at 3-1?
Well, isn't that what we were calling for throughout the time before Mancini came, to have a little bit more sense when we had gone into the lead? I know this is a game over two legs, but we could have very easily lost that loss. I think it's the narrowest margin that we could safely take to Old Trafford, just the 1-goal lead, but we have got an edge. I'm quite happy with what we did, and as I say, that's what we were calling for in many games earlier in the season where we did throw away leads. So no, I would say we did well to do what we did.
Well, Ian, my gut instinct watching the game was, you didn't, if you're a City fan, want to go gung-ho like we saw earlier in the season. But while you had United reeling, it might have been a good idea to go looking for a third goal, at least keep them on the back foot. Yeah,
I mean, obviously it's an opportunity to take a bigger lead into the second leg, which is a great advantage. But the other side of it, United probably had their strongest spell in the game in the last sort of 10-15 minutes when they put City under a lot of pressure. So perhaps there was a part of City saying, well, we'll sit back and take it, but also being put under pressure by United. I mean, Andy, do you think that United's experience in Europe over the years of two legs will help, as opposed to City, who haven't had much experience of that?
Yeah, I spoke last week to Andrew Cole, and he said it's a good result for United. And if we would go away in Europe and get a 2-1 defeat, that wouldn't be viewed negatively. That would be viewed as something we can turn over when we get to Old Trafford. So that would be the mentality of the players. They think that they played well last week and deserve more from the game, and I think a lot of fans would agree with that as well. I also think that United currently are a better team than City. I think the league table reflects that. So I don't deny City are improving and will continue to improve, and they've obviously got the money to buy better players, but 11 for 11, I think United are currently a better side than City and will go through. And the point about the defence is an important one. If you look at United's last 8 home games in the league, 7 of them have been victories. The only defeat was that Aston Villa one. But crucially, not one goal has been conceded in those matches. So United's defence, which caused a lot of trouble before Christmas, has been a very strong part of United's success in recent years, and it's getting back. So I'm pretty confident.
Steve, one of the things that concerned, again, coming back to the City fans' perspective on this, that if City score an early goal at Old Trafford, Mancini looks like a genius. If United score in the first 10, the rest of that game, the rest of that semi-final, plays out pretty much on United's terms in their background, in their backyard. If it goes to extra time, it's at Old Trafford. That's why I think City fans were concerned that 2-1 might be problematic.
Well, obviously, we would prefer to take a greater lead in there. And like you say, if United score early on, and there's every chance that they can do this, then really, you know, we have to have a game plan lined up for that. I think our defence is clearly still coming together. Andy's just been talking about United's defence, which has come under criticism. But, you know, injuries aside, they've got four guys there who've played together. They know each other. They're a defensive pack together. We're playing different players all the time. I don't know whether Mancini knows it, but most of us don't know who our best defence is yet. Where our strengths are, clearly, and this was shown last week, is in breaking. The pace in some of our strikers and midfielders, you know, Petrov, Bellamy, etc., we can break very easily. So if we do go 1-0 down fairly early, I don't think that's game over at all. I think we've got the resilience. I mean, that's one thing we did show last week, the resilience to come back, to stand our own and to still play out the rest of the game and, you know, hopefully get the result that we're looking for.
So, time for a quick break. Coming up, we're going to hear from Sir Alex ahead of Wednesday's clash. Don't forget, if you've got something to say, drop us a line today at channelm.co.uk.